So I've been designing a few products in-house, some pretty big products and really exciting stuff that we've been working on for years. When I usually design, we have this awesome resource of hundreds and hundreds of boots and shoes cut in half, but also there's a lot out there like these products that we've never reviewed that have certain unique features and benefits and do a similar thing in very unique and distinct ways. And when I'm trying to design a product, I like to see how everyone's doing it differently and try to figure out what worked, what didn't work, why did that work, do I like this, do I want it, and just kind of pick and choose what I like to make my ultimate version of whatever product I'm designing. And so when I saw the never-ending ads for these, I had to buy them. My interest was piqued. I literally saw them on every single social platform, nonstop. Lots of influencers hyping it up. This hardcore climbing brand making an approach shoe that's also a house shoe that looks really cool and modern. So I finally bought a pair to see what all the hype was about with no intentions of cutting them in half. I mostly just wanted to wear them, use them as like a house slipper, see what I liked, what I didn't like. But after wearing them, I absolutely hate these things. I would not wear these on a regular basis. So instead of just locking them up in the research vault with all the rest of these pairs, I figured it'd be kind of cool to bring you guys along for the ride and show you a little bit more of the research side of things when I'm designing stuff, and I'm looking for things that you don't usually see in the full cut in half videos, but doing it through the lens of a cut in half video. So we're gonna cut these in half, run through all of our tests to show you the 3 things that I actually really love about these shoes that I could see kind of spilling over to some of our product design of some upcoming products. But more importantly, the 3 things I absolutely hate about these shoes that to me kind of make this a failed product. So who is ArcTeryx? Well, they were founded in 1989 in North Vancouver, Canada. Originally, they were solid rock, but climbers Dave Lane and Jeremy Gard aimed to produce a superior, innovative climbing gear company, and they rebranded the name in 1991. After this pronunciation fossil, the brand revolutionized the outdoor gear world with their vapor harness, later their Gore-Tex outwear, and becoming a premier high-performance technical brand in the outdoor space. So you can see how I'd assume, oh, it's ArcTeryx, it's gotta be a pretty high-quality product, it's gotta be really nice, it's clearly made for the outdoors. So then what is this shoe? Well, the brand is ArcTeryx. The style is the Kragg shoe, and the Kragg, if you don't know, is basically where you go climbing. So it's implied in the name that this is kind of an approach shoe to begin with. They weigh 12 ounces. They retail for a really steep $140, which I totally forgot about until I sat down and recorded this. That's a crazy price for this little slipper. They're made in China, and the way they position this product is capable on the approach. Going to the Kragg, it's, if you're not into climbing, the approach to a climb is not always just a paved path. Sometimes you gotta scramble up some stuff, it's a little bit sketchy, and so you want a shoe that can actually have grip, support you, and make sure you're safe on the approach instead of slipping and falling. And that's why there's such things as approach shoes. They also say comfortable between climbs. The updated Kragg is a one-shoe solution built for both. So they're overtly saying it's for climbs and approach to climbs. A protective toe cap and hiking outsole offer protection and grip as you hike in and out over trails and rocks, and a roomier, more breathable upper helps maximize comfort once you are at the Kragg. The collapsible heel has been redesigned for quicker exit and entry, so you can transition from climb mode to recovery or belay mode with ease. And if you do want a pair of these, because I don't think they're maybe 100% flawed, but if you do want a pair, check them out, the links in my description.
If you want to upgrade your underfoot feeling, we have been working on the saddle sole insole for the last 3 years, and it's really the first of its kind on the market. It's 2 millimeters of veg tan leather, which is thicker than anything else out there right now. It's on top of ortholite foam, so that way you get a stable platform that molds to the shape of your foot, but you also get that squish that you would find in a sneaker, and it's a pretty solid combo of both worlds. So I've been wearing my saddle soles in shoes with these big squishy foam midsoles like this Kayano here, and it honestly makes a huge difference to your feet. This first batch that we're coming out with is actually discounted because we're kind of testing it out still, so if it's live already, you can check the links to get them. So if you want some, act fast. I really like them. I didn't think I was gonna like them so much, and I literally haven't taken them out. I've worn these shoes every single day since putting these in, so they're just super comfortable.
So what is it that I actually do like about these shoes? There's a reason why I bought this to test. And so what were those things? Well, number one is the wider toe box. Look how anatomical that looks compared to, let me grab another shoe real quick, just because it's the video I'm recording next. These fight shoes. See, with the ArcTeryx, you've got a pretty straight toe, and it's pretty roomy throughout the entire toe box, but it's not quite as insane as like this pair of Chaco mules. Like, look how ridiculous those are. They literally look like clown shoes. Some people love them, but for me in my research, what I'm trying to do is figure out my perfect shoe last. And you've probably heard me talk about it a few times, and you can see how close these are. Because I want to design a shoe last that still looks like a really nice, aesthetically pleasing shoe last. It's not looking like duck feet, but I want that straight toe. I want the anatomical shape where my toes aren't hurting at the end of the day. And this shoe shape was really, really close. And so what am I actually looking for when I'm looking at those two toe boxes? Well, just pull this out and you compare it to a pretty normal shoe shape, just in the Fights insole once again. just look how much more room there is. You got a lot more room for your big toe, you got a lot more room over here for your other toes, and the whole shoe last is kind of swung over to get that effect. I absolutely love it. It's so good. And that to me really hits that sweet spot. So how does that compare to our last that we've been designing? You can see it's pretty close. You know, if I overlay that, you know, it's a little different in a couple areas. It's a little bit more narrow through here and it kind of flattens out, but for the most part, that's what I'm looking for. And so part of the reason I bought these was just to test them and feel how they felt when I was walking around. You know, does my big toe feel like it's being pulled in? How do I like this actual shape? Because it's so close, it's gonna give me a close approximation to what my last would actually feel like. But there's some problems that we'll talk about in a minute that I didn't even really wear these around because they're almost unwearable. But I did walk away thinking like, dang, I think we're close. I love this shape. I think it's doing it really, really well. The number two thing I really liked about this shoe was I really liked this toe bumper and the toe guards. Because what this does is, you know, there's no leather on the shoe whatsoever. So there's not a lot of structure to it. And so if you didn't have any structure in the shoe, the whole shoe would just collapse and it'd be hard to get into. It's hard to keep the structure throughout the toe, but because they have this TPU overlay that structures the toe and this big bumper that structures it, it kind of forms the shoe in a way that allows you to keep it really simple, but rigid enough that it holds its shape, because there's nothing worse than when you have a shoe, like a slip-on shoe, and it collapses and you have to sit there and wiggle your toes to get in there. I'm like, why even have a slip-on shoe? And I also like that they're kind of lineman patch shaped. You know, they have a lot of intention behind them, sweeping up where you're gonna get a lot of abrasion, and it has that kind of symmetrical, asymmetrical look to it. And so the way that that transitioned over to my design for my little house meals here was I like that structuring of the sidewall, because there's nothing worse than when you have a pair of like these little slippers, because just look at how, like, I love these Keens, don't get me wrong, but I hate that they collapse so much. Like, look how much that's collapsed down in there. And even at the toe, it's kind of collapsed, but especially right through here. Same thing with the Clarks, it just collapses too much. And a lot of times what they'll do is they'll put a lining on the inside to structure it a little bit more. And my idea here is where you take a similar inspiration from these and basically put the structure on the outside. So instead of structuring it with the lining on the inside, you do what the ArcTeryx did and you put a bumper rolling around the side to give it that structure, to give it that extra durability, and it gives it that really chunky, like, heritage feel. How long do you think it's gonna be before one of the brands that we even work with knocks this idea off? It's only a matter of time. And really the third thing I liked about this, that I haven't really put this inspiration anywhere yet. There's a couple ideas I think could be really cool with it, but I love the fact that the goring goes down right down the front of your foot. So instead of like a regular like slip-on Vans where you got the goring right here, or like a Chelsea boot where you have the goring up here, I love that it's just a strip right down your forefoot, because it still gives you that flexibility to get in there. It's still gonna give you like that hugging of your foot that you need. And then bonus number 4 thing I really like, I actually really love the collapsible heel. Because when I was wearing them around, I liked that I could just slip into them. You know, it still doesn't hold the structure super well. You know, when you have that down, it's a little bit harder to get in, but it works pretty well for the most part. So then what is it I don't like? Well, number 1 is there's just not enough toe room. You know, I'm not sure why, but it feels like the top, your toes are always touching the top of the shoe. Like, it seems like there's just not enough room in the toe box. And so it's kind of uncomfortable to wear. And it made me feel like, oh, maybe they're too small because it's pressing on top of my feet. But it's not the length or width, it's just the height. The height is too much on top of my feet. And that comes down to the last shape. And you can see with this last that we've been designing, we even built this up. You can see this cork that we put on here for the exact same reason. I just felt like it was just a little bit too much on top of my foot. And after wearing these, I was like, yeah, we definitely have to increase the height of this. I'd rather have a little bit more height and have that toe room than make it feel like this. I hate that feeling. The other thing I don't like about this is they position it as an approach shoe and a climbing shoe, but it just does not feel nearly durable enough for an approach shoe. It seems like the outsole is just glued on or vulcanized on, because you can see there's a line right there. I'm gonna guess it's vulcanized because vulcanizing is generally stronger than glued sole, but the ideal way to do this would be like a cup sole or something other than vulcanized, because if you're actually using this as an approach shoe, you don't want the same thing that happens with every pair of Vans and Converse where you get a little split, next thing you know, the whole shoe's falling apart. And it's not that it's gonna leave you stranded up on the mountain somewhere, stuck at the Kragg where you're not gonna be able to hike out of them. But I would not trust these to be an approach shoe. It's only a matter of time before that splits and fails, because all it really is, it doesn't even have the foxing like a Converse does where it kind of locks that in. It's literally just vulcanized straight down. So I would not be surprised if some of you guys that have these is watching this, I've already had those fail. So if you do have that failure, let me know in the comments, because that seems like a really bad way to design an approach shoe. Which also, my concern with durability is look, you shouldn't be able to do that to your outsole with one hand, right? Especially if it's an approach shoe. You know, because approach shoes are traditionally a little bit more rigid and durable because it's almost like a half climbing shoe and a half hiking shoe. And so you want it to have the grippiness of a climbing shoe, but you want some of the aspects of a hiking shoe. I think it's fine to say you can do that to a house shoe or a slipper or something for traveling, but not an approach shoe. And you're like, well, maybe I want a little bit of flexibility. Maybe I'm fine with that. But to me, the other issue with this is when you're on an approach, when you stand on a rock, you don't want that to happen to your foot. And you're already worn your feet out before you even get to the climb. Because if you haven't climbed before, it's pretty intensive on your feet. And then finally, number 3, that might be actually it is for sure my biggest complaint with this shoe. Everything else I could kind of work around and find an excuse for personally in my use of this shoe. But the thing that actually makes it unwearable is it feels like you're walking around in quicksand in these things. The insole is so freaking soft and so big, your foot squishes down like an inch every single step. And here's the durometer scores. It's even softer than like those super running shoes that people wear as casual shoes. And once again, for an approach shoe, it makes absolutely no sense because if you're on the rocks and stuff and you're already unstable because your shoe's doing this, then you have this underneath your foot that gives you no support or stability whatsoever. You can see how you'd be a little bit shaky and wobbly and maybe not the best approach shoe. But I think there is a case to be made that, well, okay, it's a light approach shoe for maybe a little bit more groomed trails. This is mostly just for belaying, which I think is actually a pretty fair point, but they just really heavily advertise it as an approach shoe just as much as like a belaying shoe, when in all reality, this is just like a house slipper or like a casual slipper or a belaying shoe. Like there's really not much of an approach shoe in this whatsoever. And it causes the same issues that all those modern running shoes have, which is it's just too squishy. And this was important research for me because not that I mostly bought it for those other features, but we were right in the middle of finishing up the saddle sole design. This product comes directly from the issues of all these super squishy running shoes, like stuff like this that's just completely unsupportive and your legs are worn out and your feet are almost canoeing underneath of you because it's so squishy. And that's why people love like true heritage goods. You get that big slab of veg tan on the inside, but they can be really, really hard. And so that's why we designed the saddle sole that has that high-end ortholite foam with just enough squish, but still 2 millimeters of veg tan leather to break into the shape of your foot. And so if you combine these two, wear it all day. But with that much squish and that much unsupportive rolling and squishing and a complete lack of structure whatsoever, it's bad for your feet. And it shocks me that nobody's done this before. That's why this has been top secret. That's why it's one of the first times you're seeing it, because once again, with this product research, it'd be so cool to show you all the ins and outs of what we're pulling from what, but so many brands rip off what we're doing that it's not until it's literally ready to release that we can show you this kind of stuff. So this ended up being the perfect shoe to really pick and pull all 3 of these different projects, little elements from. And so now let's cut this thing in half, see what's on the inside, and see if there's anything, how thin this, and look how, this gotta be so thin, look how thin that's gotta be. And ultimately see if there's anything else hidden on the inside of this, honestly, now that we've got most of the way through it, very expensive, basically slipper. This slim neck strap that's hand sewn, solid brass hardware, harness thickness leather, has been crazy popular. But there's still plenty of people like, make it a more affordable version. So we heard you, and we made you a riveted version. Still all the same quality, all the same details, but instead of hand sewing them, we riveted them together, make it a little bit more affordable. Check out the riveted neck strap below. All right, we got it cut in half. And if you're not subscribed, consider pushing that little subscribe button, give us a like. And if you like this style of video, I've had actually a lot of fun thinking through how to explain this to you guys and what I'm actually looking for, because it's honestly my favorite part of this entire thing is the design stuff. And I think that's why I like reviewing designs, is like I wanna see what other people are doing, how they're doing it. So if you'd like to see more of the design stuff, let me know, support this video. And now, let's find out the truth about these pretty expensive ArcTeryx shoes. So what is on the inside? Hardly anything. It's very, very basic on the inside, but look how much foam you're standing on. And like it's such soft foam, you can compress it down to like 1/8 of an inch. And that's why these shoes feel like you're walking around in quicksand, because you basically are. And then to that other big complaint, you can see what I mean by like having almost no toe room. Because right here at the toe, it's like a finger width. And that's after I've cut this goring and it's already kind of flared out and it's stretched out a little bit. When you're actually wearing these, that's not even enough room for a big toe. I don't know whose big toe is that short or that flat. It just seems like nobody really put the thought into this, aside from how do we make a really expensive shoe as cheaply as possible, but make it look expensive and make it feel ultra squishy without thinking about what that means for the actual product. You know, so you see what I mean? Like, there's so much I love about this shoe. I love the shape. I love the way that they do the protective bumpers. I love, like, all those things that we pulled inspiration for these designs. I love it. But they flop so hard on some of the most fundamental and important aspects of the shoe. And it's irritating because they do put so much money in marketing and advertising these. Then they position it in a way that's like, this is a tool. You could climb the crags in these, you could belay in these. When in all reality, it's a barely functioning shoe. And it's ridiculously expensive for what you get. Like, how do you find the justification for the price of this shoe? I wouldn't pay more than 80 bucks for this, really. Like, I don't see any justification that should be worth more than $100. So that's why specifically I wanted to do this one, because product reviews are not just all positive, all negative. A lot of times there is pros and cons. A lot of times, no matter how good the pros are, a few small cons will completely ruin the entire project. So when it comes to the products I'm designing, I'm looking at where other brands are failing, what worked, what didn't work. And that's what's so cool about what we do, is we have this unique resource of like 800 boots and shoes cut apart that we can pick and pull from to really analyze every aspect of the industry to really figure out, like, what is my perfect insole and why has nobody made one like this before? What is my perfect shoe shape? If I could just design anything I wanted, what would it look like? And even down to something as simple as a quick little house mule that's a little more heritage based. What are the little things that I'm not thinking about that have failed big in other products and other brands? That's why I love doing this. It's so fun to see what other brands are doing and how they're doing things and the approach they take to solve problems that have been plaguing footwear for hundreds and hundreds of years. So thank you guys, and let me know what you thought about this. And if you want me to bring you along for more of the design process, support this video, because I love it. It's the whole reason I love doing this. It's the whole reason I started the business. And I'd love to get to the point where you guys are following along with every aspect of all the builds, all the concepts, all the new products and collaborations we're doing, because it's what I love doing most. So thank you guys. See ya.